Deep in the heart of the forest, there was a vast swamp that all the animals avoided. The swamp was mysterious and dangerous, with thick, sticky mud and dark waters that seemed to pull in anyone who wandered too close. But despite its dangers, the swamp was also home to some of the most fascinating creatures, including a clever rabbit named Benny. Benny was fast on his feet and known throughout the forest for his intelligence. He was always up for a challenge, but even he knew to stay clear of the swamp's treacherous depths. One bright afternoon, as Benny was hopping along the edge of the forest, he heard a faint, distressed voice calling out. His large ears perked up immediately. "Help! Help! Please! Someone help me!" Benny's heart raced. Without hesitation, he followed the sound, darting through the trees until he reached the edge of the swamp. The voice was clearer now, and Benny could see where it was coming from. A small turtle named Timmy who was sinking deep into the swamp's thick, muddy waters. Timmy was stuck, his tiny legs frantically waving as he slowly sank further into the muck. The mud gripped him tightly, and the more he struggled, the deeper he sank. His eyes were wide with fear. "Benny, please help me. I can't get out," Timmy cried, his voice trembling with panic. Benny stood on the edge of the swamp, quickly assessing the situation. He knew he couldn't just rush in. If he tried to run into the mud, he'd get stuck just like Timmy. He needed to think fast. Benny was clever, and he always found a way out of tricky situations. But this was unlike anything he had faced before. "I'm coming, Timmy. Just hold on and stop struggling," Benny called out, trying to keep his friend calm. Benny glanced around the swamp, looking for anything he could use to help. The swamp was full of fallen branches, vines, and thick reeds. He immediately had an idea. If he could build something to stay on top of the mud, maybe he could pull Timmy out without getting stuck himself. Benny knew time was running out. If Timmy sank any deeper, it would be too late. Benny quickly gathered several long, sturdy branches from the edge of the swamp and began tying them together with vines he found hanging from the trees. He worked swiftly, his paws moving with precision. Soon, he had created a makeshift raft, strong enough to stay on top of the mud surface but light enough for him to pull. He knew it wasn't perfect, but it was the best shot they had. "Timmy, I've got a plan. I'm going to send this raft to you and you need to grab on as tightly as you can," Benny shouted. Timmy, his tiny body still sinking slowly, nodded, though he was shaking with fear. "Okay, Benny. I'll try." Benny pushed the raft gently onto the surface of the mud. The branches creaked but held together as they floated toward Timmy. Benny guided it carefully, making sure it stayed close enough for Timmy to reach without sinking deeper. Finally, the raft reached Timmy. He stretched out his small flippers, his heart pounding in his chest, and grabbed onto the branches with all his strength. The raft dipped slightly but stayed on the surface. "I've got it, Benny," Timmy shouted, a flicker of hope lighting up his face. "Great. Now hold on tight. I'm going to pull you out," Benny called back, bracing himself. Benny grabbed the vine tied to the raft and pulled with all his might. His paws dug into the solid ground and his muscles strained as he slowly began to drag the raft and Timmy towards safety. Inch by inch, they moved forward. The mud clung to Timmy, trying to pull him back in, but Benny didn't give up. He knew that if he rushed, he could make a mistake, so he stayed steady, focusing on each pull. Timmy held on, his body trembling from exhaustion. "You're doing it, Benny. I'm almost out." Benny gritted his teeth and gave one final powerful pull. The raft slid across the mud, and with a great effort, Timmy was pulled free from its grasp. Benny collapsed onto the solid ground, panting heavily. Timmy tumbled off the raft, landing next to him, covered in mud but safe. They lay there for a moment, both too tired to speak. The swamp, with its eerie quietness, seemed far less threatening now that they had escaped its grasp. Finally, Timmy turned to Benny, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Benny, you saved my life. I thought I was done for." Benny smiled, wiping the mud from his fur. "I'm just glad you're okay, Timmy. But next time, maybe stay away from the swamp, huh?"